Gathering requirements is a crucial element in any IT project because information that IT team will be collecting in the beginning may reflect in such factors as business goals or user feedback. Today, I'm talking with two experts coming from Merixstudio, Krzysztof Sikora and Kacper Świętokowski, about gathering requirements. This is Merixstudio series. It's time to talk. Hello, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Doing good, Mike. Glad to be here.
Hi, hello.
So I'm super glad to have you on this beautiful morning. Gentlemen, please tell a few words about your professional experience, about your background. What are you bringing to the table today?
So I can start. I am software engineer by education. I have been coding on the Java stack for a couple of years after my university years. And recently, I have been doing a lot of product ownership, product management, as well as helping the engineering teams to come up with the best solutions to match the business requirements. So I kind of see myself as a person that sits between the business and development, and this is where I find myself contributing mostly at Merix as a pre-sales engineer. I basically help customers to define their problems and guide them through initial stages of drafting the solution architecture. So today, I think I can bring a lot of experience regarding product definition, architecture, and basically going with all of that through the project to delivery.
And I'm Kasper. I'm a software architect and a pre-sales engineer as well. And I've got like 15 years of experience working commercially, both as a product owner and product manager, developing my own projects, as well as for third parties as a vendor. And I try to bring my experience to help customers achieve their goals. I'm business oriented, but same story as with Krzysztof. I've got technical experience, technical education, and I'm still an active developer.
Kate and gentlemen, thank you very much for this. So it sounds like we have a very powerful expertise for today's interview. Okay, let's start with starters. What are the key factors in gathering requirements for the project? What kind of assets are the most important in the beginning?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, it's fair to say that books have been written about gathering requirements, and even another set of books have been written about doing it in a certain style, like agile requirements gathering, user stories creation. So it's such a big topic that it's really hard to kind of answer the question in a couple of sentences. But I think what is key to understand is that you need to commit a certain amount of time. And it usually for organizations means people to help the software house like Merix understand what is the problem you're trying to solve, what is your business about, and then how we can help. And then go through the process of capturing the requirements in a more or less formal way, depending on the problem that we are facing. So I would start with that, like understand the high commitment, provide the right people, and then let yourself be guided by the professionals, like business analysts, product managers, or owners that have went through the process and know the traps and the techniques to capture it in the right way.
Okay, Kacper, any thoughts?
What I may add is that usually enterprises are much more complex that a product manager is aware of in the beginning. And as Krzysztof said, like presence of certain stakeholders is crucial. And very often what you can expect is during the product analysis, you'll learn something about your company, and this is a good sign. If it's not happening, probably it means that we didn't go too deep, and there should be some knowledge that is extracted from those meetings. What I would say is I would focus not only on proper requirements gathered, but as well as creating good requirements in the first place. So understanding how you want to achieve your goals and focusing on your goals and limiting yourself to your goals is crucial. So probably we'll dive deeper on this, but having a good plan is a crucial part for later processes.
All
Yeah,
right.
like a lot of people just come to us and say, "Hey, I want the website," or "I want this and that," and because they have seen it at the competition, they have used a similar product, but what they don't realize is how this website or any software product will fit their business model, their specific needs, people that they work with, people that work for them. So I think one of at the very early stages, what we do at Merix is try to bridge this gap and clarify customers that they need to think it through, so that in the end they don't get just a website, they get something that solves their problem in the best possible way, and they basically get the return on investment or on custom software, because this is what we excel at.
Exactly. So website is just a solution for a certain need, and it's very important to distinguish between solutions and actual needs, because very often you can come to a software house with some certain understanding of the solution, but maybe we can try to build something better, or maybe there is already a solution for that existing on the market. So focusing on your like basic needs, basic goals may lead to better solution at the end, rather than just focusing on estimating a single solution that you've already have in mind.
All right then. Yeah, I think that transferring the context is always a tricky part. Yeah, but sometimes this can be done with very simple words like I have, I don't know, fleet managers who are not tech savvy and they require a service that will help them navigate, let's say, trucks driving all around United Kingdom. Yeah, or I do have this and that application, and sometimes I'm noticing that stakeholders are missing the part. What is the context of usage? Yeah, who will be using it? And ironically, this information, which doesn't necessarily be very specific, is very helpful for us as a supplier to understand, because we are able to give some recommendations, but understanding who is the user, this is something that should come from the stakeholder, and I think that this is a crucial element here. Okay, then, so how can stakeholders support this process? How can they, for example, increase the accuracy of estimation, or how can they help us make good decisions when it comes to the tech stack?
So
the client comes to us, let me just finish. The client comes to us with a business problem and with some information, and how we can use this information in order to give good guidance and proceed.
Okay, so let me answer the first question with the accuracy. So first of all, you need to understand that estimate shouldn't be a single number. Like you can give an estimate with huge precision, but it won't be accurate. And there's this difference between accuracy and precision. And so I think you should understand that there's some probability that we'll end up with a given range, and it's all about this probability and the certainty we've got with those numbers. And so there's a different level that a customer can different level of a risk or different amount of a risk that a customer can accept. And this is very crucial. If you're at the beginning of your journey and you need a ballpark figure just to make sure that, okay, this is more or less feasible, then the process looks completely different when you've got a strict number in your head and you've got your budget already planned and you cannot exceed this amount. So if you know your needs towards the risk management, then we can apply a different tools that will decrease the uncertainty to a level that you are okay with. And for instance, you can do a scoping session where all of your requirements will be analyzed, digested, and maybe refined in a way. For example, we can do a mockups, or we can do data flow for the architecture, or whatever the need is. If sometimes it's not enough, then you can do like whole UI and UX already planned and maybe phase that out, so that the more you plan ahead, the less uncertainty we've got down the road. And the third thing, in very technical projects where there is a lot of integration and multiple parties involved, maybe even a walking skeleton approach would be beneficial. So it means that we are going to work for a sprint or two, so maybe a month, just to make sure that every end of this equation can be connected and everything works more or less as we expected. Because what you can learn along the way is, as I said, answering the first question, that things might be more complicated than you anticipated, and with such tools involved, you can limit the risk on your end.
I think now you're on mute, Mike. Yeah.
I was asking you, do you have any thoughts on that? And sorry for this.
I mean, I think I would add on that an estimation for me is already part of the project. So I think it's good to understand, once you get involved yourself into building a software, like custom software, is that a reliable, more accurate estimation is part of doing the project. So you cannot really make the estimation before doing the project and expect it to be accurate. Accurate in a sense that you can fix the budget. Of course, there is a certain set of projects that can be done that way, that follow a certain template, that are kind of either be based on building blocks that we put together and configure, or are basically more kind of integration projects. But if we speak strictly about custom problems and custom software, I think the estimate is kind of an ongoing thing, an ongoing process in the project. And in the end, you only know how long it will take after you are done. And with software projects that are part of the business, that are really at the core of the business, you are not really done, never, right? Because they kind of live on and have to be maintained, extended, and adjusted to your ever-changing business needs. So I think this is important to kind of understand that we are not really kind of copy-pasting code base across industries and customers. It's all customs and real projects.
All right, then. Thank you very much, gentlemen. So next question would be, what kind of resources and assets do we use in the process? Is the Figma prototype the best asset you can imagine, or is this something else? How does it look like?
I think my thoughts on that is that, and it kind of connects to your previous question, is that what we usually try to do for any more complex project is we try to approach the problem from many different angles. So We don't only look at the UI. And when you mention Figma prototypes, they really help a lot. They help a lot, especially at bridging the gap between the users, so stakeholders, customer, and us. And they are kind of playing a key role in understanding what has to be built, how it has to work. But from that, or even in parallel, we do other things, like already mentioned, so prototypes, checking the API documentation, verifying non-functional requirements, and then building architecture drafts based on that, as well as providing the future team that will develop it, acceptance tests, sample calculations for any project that has kind of a model and produces some numbers, for example. So I would look at the whole process of identifying what the system is as a kind of multi-layered approach. And I think it's one of the traps where we see some customers coming with a very fine, detailed Figma prototypes and assuming this is all we need to build the system. And of course, one thing is that this will evolve over time as the understanding changes and people use the system and see it in action rather than just on the screens. But other than that, I think as the teams kind of build it and approach it from engineering perspective, the requirements and the way how things can be done and integrated with the outer world change. So, I mean, for me, a key thing is to look at things from different angles and use different tools, because they will very quickly get you accelerated in the process. And don't push any of the techniques to the extreme, because you will be basically caught by this diminishing results trap. So yeah, I think that's how I see it.
Yeah, so I couldn't agree more. When it comes to the tools composition, I would say that it's all about the uncertainty cone. So for instance, if the aim of our project is to acquire a user from the internet, and we want to pass him through the CTR and other metrics, then a Figma file is great, because we can conduct a study even before writing a software, and we can see how certain screens operate and what's the overall outcome from them. So this is like great tool to achieve that. But on the other hand, if you've got an embed project with limited resources on it, and then like Figma file is just a very small part of it, and it may happen that you will encounter significant obstacle in a technical realm. So still it may take some of the experience to be able to assess the risk where they actually are. So I cannot tell that Figma file is one tool for all of the projects. But this is a very good tool, and usually it's a huge benefit when it is done correctly.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. So as we can hear, Figma may be good for some things, but for some other things not. I believe that sometimes diagrams, good description of how, for example, how the backend is supposed to look like. In a couple of projects that I've been working with, the prototype was made using Excel file. Yeah, like in one of our projects, we built an offering tool for field sales representatives, and the client originally came to us with Excel file explaining all of the, let's say, calculation mechanisms standing behind the cost of service that the service provider was offering in their area. All right, then. Another would be, how important is it to describe business goals of the project? Do you appreciate, for example, such things as, for example, quantifiable data, like hard numbers that need to be achieved?
Yeah, I think this is very helpful, and actually allows you to focus on problem solving, sometimes
Mhm.
even better, just than focusing on requirements provided by the customer.
Mhm.
Uh, and you can learn a lot of non-functional requirements as well. And what I can tell from my experience is usually when there's a business goal, then there's a more focus on measuring what matters. So very often, if you gather requirements, the focus is on core functionality of given platform. But if you understand how the success is going to be measured, then you understand that, oh, there's a different pool of tools that you have to use, for instance, for advertising to reach those goals, and for analytics to understand if this goal is going to be met, if there's some changes that you need to make to the process to reach that goal. And it's completely different paradigm and focus shift if you've got like real business goals and KPIs to achieve. So to me, it's a very good idea to focus on things that you're going to measure and make
Mhm.
sure that you're measuring those in the first place, and then later on following the numbers along the way.
All right, then. Thank you for this. Um, okay, we've been talking a little bit what kind of knowledge the stakeholder, the client may bring, what kind of, let's say, knowledge we can bring to the table, what are, let's say, the procedures. But I was wondering a little bit about the tools and techniques of gathering requirements. What we are having at our belts that can help us make those sessions with the clients more effective.
I think, I mean, we do a lot of agile kind of requirements gathering,
Mhm.
especially when we sit down together on the workshops and have a bit more time. We kind of invite the stakeholders from the customer. We have someone representing product design, technical development expertise from Merix, and then what we start with, apart from understanding the motivation, the goals, and KPIs, are user journeys that we translate into epics or user stories, so well known after so many years, but often misused at the same time. But either way, that's basically how we try to capture the requirements in the first place. So go from the very high level understanding of what the user is trying to achieve, write it down to understand who, why, and then what's the end result, and then kind of deep dive into individual areas or epics of the system that are either really of high value or are kind of tough to understand. And maybe we kind of perceive them as complex to implement. So again, kind of approaching the problem from a couple of different angles. So that's one of the techniques that we use to capture the requirements.
And
Okay.
I'm a great advocate for event storming. So event storming
Mhm.
is a technique that we try to put all of events within a given company on a board, and we've got all of the stakeholders in the same place so that we can make sure that everyone understand the entire process. And this is very interesting part, and the collaboration is huge. And as I said, this is usually the moment when you learn something about your company that you didn't know before, because if you've got
Mhm.
like different departments on the same room talking about the
Mhm.
companies, then very often you learn that there are different perspectives, and maybe you're doing
Sales,
some
marketing, product. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then very often you'll learn that maybe you're doing something twice or something is not needed or etc. There are very different conditions in different companies, but usually it's very beneficial to have a session like this. So we
All
are
right.
not like talking with the client in silos, but it's very important to have a meeting where everyone can talk with everyone.
Yes, one of my reflections is that in my personal experience, because I am until some point involved in gathering requirements, one of the things that I notice is that business people are busy and they claim themselves to be busy. And sometimes the gathering requirements process looks like a long email ping pong, which sometimes in some cases may even last for a couple of weeks, if not months. And what I like in what I'm hearing today is that sometimes it's better to make a stop and sit together for just one day. And those, let's say, 6 or 8 hours spent together, they are an equivalent of, let's say, several emails, diagrams, dashboards, shared documents that will be exchanged between the teams. But sometimes it's just basically better to sit together, brainstorm, ask ourselves sometimes even uneasy questions, and then push things forward with much greater pace. Speaking about stakeholders, speaking about clients, there are different verticals, industries that we serve. Yeah, what we need to take into consideration while working with them. Yeah, are there any standards that we need to take into consideration? What is the difference, for example, between serving a solar panel company and logistics company and manufacturing company? Yeah, how can we increase our commitment to each one of them, keeping in mind that they are different?
I mean, at least from my experience, I haven't seen different horizontal techniques applied by software teams or software houses to gathering requirements across verticals. Like, I mean, you can apply Scrum or Prince2 or any other methodology pretty much with a success at different types of products in different verticals. What I have seen working for different companies and industries is that once you go very deep into one industry like telecom, you will come across, of course, the knowledge, a lot of acronyms, the language people speak, and then the standards that follow. And usually what happens is that these teams kind of build on top of that certain processes. So I would say like you have different templates to gather requirements, and there is some kind of entry phase into this required by, for example, Merix to understand and process. But other than that, I mean, it's kind of, I would say, translatable between what you can encounter in a big telecom company to what we do on a daily basis. I think usually what we do applies across verticals from my experience.
Right.
So
And Kasper?
one note that I may add is usually a company has like core domains, which are differentiators of which of what given company is actually doing and what is known for. But there is a huge number of generic domains or supportive domains. So it actually means that if you're in e-commerce, then you still need to place an invoice or something like this. So there is a huge space that is shared across of different companies, and they share the same needs. And usually this is to some extent the easy part. And there is these things that actually differentiate you from the market, and uh, most effort usually goes into that space. um, Yeah, but usually the way you're going to acquire requirements is very similar, with the exception of industries that are strictly formalized. So, for instance, there are very different standards
Mhm.
for banking industry, for instance, and there's different needs when it comes to the transpart transparency,
Transparency.
how things work,
Mhm.
and how the process are defined in those environments. It's not just up to the client how things may be done, but there's some external requirements that sometimes they need to be gathered as well in order to fulfill the project goals.
All right, and so we need to keep in mind legal regulations. We need to keep in mind industry standards. We need to keep in mind formalities. Okay, gentlemen, last question today. Believe it or not, what kind of advice you, I believe 40 years of combined professional experience, what kind of advice you, gentlemen, would give to stakeholders aiming to hand over a project? How can we help them avoid mistakes, make the work effective, and onboard handover project, an IT project efficiently?
I would say come open-minded if you knock on Merix's door, and expect different results that you originally intended, and
Mhm.
usually for the better. I mean, it's the whole journey and discovery that is so much important. Remember that software house doesn't mean like only coding. It's
Yep,
building the whole product and development engineering, which I think I would say is even more important uh, than just writing the code. Other than that, be transparent and provide as much information as possible. Like we want to partnership on building and solving the problem rather than be handed over documents and the things that have to be built. Like we have so much expertise with different technologies and different products as the team and even as individuals that we can really provide insights provided that we are given the opportunity and information. And yeah, I think these are the three things that come from top of my head at the moment.
So from me, uh, I will I would advise to go extremely lean, usually much leaner than the initial request for proposal is, and leave yourself room for what you're going to learn along the way. And the other thing is to use already made software as much as possible. Define your core domain, define what differentiate you from the market, and then spend your money building your custom solution. But don't spend your money building something that is already built. This is
correct.
a very common mistake that I think is made, and be very focused on risk management
Mhm.
and try to reduce the risk as much as possible, and maybe sometimes prioritize towards those areas that brings most of the risk. So usually I will tackle those areas first and make sure that later on we've got only easy part that is left.
All right, then. Thank you very much for this. Gentlemen, I think it was a very insightful talk to stakeholders. We dedicate this conversation to stakeholders, business founders, managers, decision makers, people who want to build an IT product or service using software development company like ours, or even perhaps with their own in-house team. Yeah, because In some cases, the process may be quite similar. Yes, we need to introduce what are the business goals. We need to introduce who are the final groups of users. We need to elaborate, for example, the legal requirements of a product or service that we will be building. So nevertheless, you will be building this in-house or outsourcing this to another company. Those rules apply. Krzysztof, Kacper, thank you very much for joining today. I hope that there will be a chance to see each other some other time. This was It's Time to Talk conversation from Merixstudio. Thank you all. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank
See
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.